Just because you like something or it smells good does not mean it deserves a home in your collection. Hi, my name is Chine and welcome to my YouTube channel. On this channel, we talk about all things smelling good. So if that sounds like your vibe, don't forget to subscribe. I'm trying to hit 500 subscribers by the end of 2026. Nothing says Valentine's Day like a bouquet of roses. These are some of my favorite rose fragrances. And don't worry, they are all not rose and oud, okay? There's something for everyone in this list. We already know that the first step to getting your fragrance to last the entire day is layering with the body oil. These are two body oils from Rosé that will pair perfectly with a lot of the fragrances I'm going to feature in this video. The first one is Rose Misted. This one has rose and ginger. It is a rose fragrance, but it has that freshness from the ginger. This one, No Matter, is now my favorite one. It's a stunning raspberry, chocolate, and cognac body oil. And my favorite thing about the Rosé body oils is that they are very fast absorbing. They don't just sit on top of your skin and mess up your clothes. I'm going to do a detailed review of these body oils on TikTok, so definitely follow me on there so you don't miss it. Starting off with a more gourmand Pretty Princess Rose, we have Jardins de Misfa by Un Nuit Nomade. Now, this is the EDP version, but they also have an extrait. I have tried both, and honestly, you don't need both. I can barely tell the difference between the extrait and the EDP. It's definitely stronger, but not even by that much. And any additional notes that they might have added to the extrait, I honestly can't pick them up when I smell them side by side. So save yourself some coin and just get the EDP. This fragrance smells like someone that uses summer as a verb. The rose in here is a jammy rose. Imagine if you could extract rose syrup. That is what this smells like. And then combined with the dates, it has that sticky molasses kind of vibe from the dates. Like imagine rose petals drizzled with like date sauce. That is the vibe of this fragrance. It is feminine, it is grown, and it has this sophistication about it. What stops this fragrance from just being another jammy rose is the addition of the spices. The spices in here, like the cardamom and the nutmeg, are able to add that depth and warmth that spices add without overwhelming the fragrance and making it a very true warm and spicy fragrance. Even if you're someone that doesn't really gravitate towards warm and spicy fragrances, I still think this fragrance is definitely worth getting your nose on. The spices are there to keep the fragrance from being all the way too sweet like a rose's vanille, but at the same time you're still able to get the jammy rose that makes this fragrance distinctively feminine. This fragrance is like warm and magical. The addition of the spices really takes this fragrance to the next level, and I like that they didn't add cinnamon in this fragrance. Cinnamon is a spice that can overwhelm everything very quickly. This is also one of the first fragrances that I tried that has a nutmeg note. Now, nutmeg, unlike cinnamon, does not overwhelm and take over the entire composition. Honestly, if you're looking for a feminine jammy rose but you don't want to smell like anyone else, I definitely recommend that you grab a sample of Jardins de Misfa. Sticking to the theme of a very pretty princess feminine rose, we have Soy Maliki by Dries Van Noten. Now, this fragrance is such a beautiful composition. Like if Perfume could sing, it would be this. The way the notes blend together, like when you look at the note breakdown and you pay attention to what you're smelling, the medley, the way it all comes together is so perfectly executed. This fragrance has cacao, it has silk, it has rose, it has like a hazelnut note also. I know that when you hear a perfume has a silk note, you're like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, what does silk even smell like? But I promise you, when you smell this fragrance, you will understand what they mean by a silk note. It's almost as if you can feel the fragrance and it has that silky feeling. I know I sound crazy, but if you smell this fragrance, you're gonna know exactly what I mean. The rose in here is a very bright feminine rose, and I think there are also some citrus notes in here that add to the brightness. Now, the citrus notes in here don't overwhelm the fragrance. This doesn't smell like a cleaning product. It doesn't smell like a lemon gourmand. It's just there to add a bit more of a juiciness to the rose note. Black currant is a fruity note that I think is severely underrated, and the way that it's executed here is so good. And then the longer the fragrance stays on your skin, you start to get a bit more depth from the cacao and the chestnut. The chestnut in here is able to add like almost like a nutty woody facet to the fragrance without making it smell overwhelmingly woody or even a little bit masculine. There is nothing masculine about this fragrance. It is very distinctively feminine. I always say that Soy Maliki smells like the most spoiled housewife you know getting ready. She's in her room in a pink silk robe, seated in front of her vanity, and she's applying this very luxurious cocoa butter like lotion on herself. That is exactly the vibe of this fragrance. The silk in here is able to add almost like a clean, airy facet that smells almost like skin but not like skin. This fragrance is a stunner. It's really pricey, and it's also very disappointing that for how expensive this perfume is, it does not really last. This fragrance lasts maybe 4 hours on your skin and your clothes, which is insane because this is almost a $400 bottle of perfume. So if you're someone that really cares about longevity and you do not want to spend money on a perfume that does not last, stay far away from this. You're going to be disappointed. but I love the juice so much that I made an exception. Now, taking a step into the darker fragrances, this one does not give femme fatale, but it's still a very interesting fragrance. This is Dom Rosa by Liquid Imaginaire. Now, Liquid Imaginaire is known for Blanche Bête. Everybody loves Blanche Bête, and also Liquid Gold, the one like the gold bottle. Dom Rosa is severely underrated, especially for the rose lovers. Given how many people love rose on social media, I'm surprised people don't talk about this one. It's a very interesting fragrance that has a rose note and a champagne note, and you definitely get the champagne when you put on this fragrance. It has notes of champagne, pomelo, pear, Damascus rose, cloves, olibanum, woody notes, cedar, and gaiac wood. This fragrance definitely has a woody facet, but given all the woody notes in the base, I will not say that this fragrance is overwhelmingly woody. If anything, this fragrance smells almost like mulled wine from the combination of the champagne with the spicy notes like the cloves and the olibanum. On first spray of this fragrance, it opens very sparkly and fruity. You get the pomelo, you get the pear, you get the champagne, but as it starts to dry down, the darker and the spicier notes start to show up. The rose in here isn't a bright jammy rose, and it's also not a powdery dark rose. It's more like dried rose petals. This fragrance just feels like you are at a vineyard, maybe for brunch or something, and you have a huge bouquet of roses in your hand. And so the combination of like the wine and the vineyard and then also the roses all together, plus like the sunlight on your skin, that is the vibe of this fragrance. It's kind of difficult to describe, but if you're looking for a rose fragrance that leans more heavily on the wine, then I think you'd really enjoy this. Definitely sample this one. I do not think Dom Rosa is a fragrance that will work well on a lot of people's skin, just based off of how it smells. Like a wine nose, a mulled wine kind of smell can go maybe rancid on some people. So definitely sample this one, do not blind buy. Next, we have Cairo by Penhaligon's. As I already said, I'm not the biggest fan of rose fragrances, so there's no reason for me to be telling you and showing you full-size bottles. I do not own full-size bottles of many of these fragrances because while they are pleasant, I do not need them in my collection because I know I will not wear them. So if you're someone that is getting into collecting fragrances, maybe you're getting overwhelmed with your collection, that is something to keep in mind. Just because you like something or it smells good does not mean it deserves a home in your collection. You really need to sit down and think, will I wear this? And if the answer is no, maybe all you need is a sample or a decant, and that's completely fine. Now, this is a fragrance that I would recommend to someone that is trying to dip their toes into the world of rose and oud, but they don't want to commit to an oud fragrance. This fragrance doesn't have an oud note in it, but it has that Middle Eastern flair that a rose and oud fragrance will have. And I think it comes from the cypriol note. Cairo is a quintessential spicy rose fragrance that gives us sophisticated yet alluring vibes. When you smell this, you're going to know that this is someone that has good taste. There's nothing about this that smells playful or bright or juvenile. She means business, okay? This is a bad bee rose. So it has notes of damask rose, saffron, vanilla, cypriol, labdanum, sandalwood, patchouli, and cedar. I will say that the vanilla in here is what makes this fragrance a lot more approachable. As the fragrance dries down, you start to get more of that vanillic creaminess, but nothing gourmand-like, right? It just tames down the darker notes like the labdanum and the patchouli. Now, I consider myself a patchouli lover, so I might be biased, but I think the patchouli in here is significant. So if you're someone that generally doesn't like patchouli, I think this is one you should sample before you buy. But I get it a lot on my skin. It's like an earthy kind of vibe. So make sure you sample. You should be sampling either way, but you guys never listen, so I'm emphasizing that. The combination of the saffron and the rose and the vanilla in Cairo really make it a very elevated spicy rose fragrance. It isn't doing too much, it isn't too heavy on the spices, but at the same time, it isn't a playful, juvenile kind of rose. And also, when you look at the note breakdown of Cairo by Penhaligon's, I'm very surprised that this fragrance is not as powerful and beast mode as the notes. This is a fragrance that when I put it on, I honestly kind of struggle to smell it. Now, I haven't really tested it outside to know if it's one of those fragrances that I might not be able to smell, but then everyone around me can smell it. But just based off of my sample, it doesn't give beast mode fill up a room. If you're someone that is trying to dip your toes into the world of a spicy rose, you like the idea, but you're not ready to fully commit to oud, I think Cairo by Penhaligon's is a great place to start. Now, coming for the femme fatale rose fragrances. You want a rose fragrance that's giving dark, mysterious, intriguing, magnetic, who is she? Now, tomato fragrances are known to be very polarizing and animalic and out of the box, and that is true based off the ones I have smelled. But this one is actually pretty nuanced and like standard for a niche fragrance. Crazy or like animalic or weird, this is a pretty standard like boozy fragrance. Now, this is a fragrance that is not safe for work because the execution of the whiskey note in here is second to none. So that makes it very photorealistic. If you wear this at work, people might think you spilled very expensive whiskey on yourself. The whiskey in here has this smokiness and woodiness from an oak barrel kind of note. So it literally smells like really expensive oak barrel whiskey. That is the way the boozy note is done in here, and it's so smooth. And then you start to get the rose. The rose in here is like a very rich rose essence, and it dances really well with the boozy note. I wouldn't say that the boozy note overwhelms the rose or like the rose overwhelms the boozy note. They're perfectly combined. Like, this is so random, but imagine a rose is like drizzled in honey and then just dipped into an oak barrel whiskey. When I smell this fragrance, I think about someone that is in a well-tailored suit. Man or woman, it doesn't matter. Okay, the suit is giving. And then you're catching up over drinks with someone. So this person has poured 2 glasses of whiskey, and the glasses are like by a candle, so they're illuminated by like the glow of the candle. Because they're at a bar or something, there is a rose that's on the table in like a little tiny vase. I know, but just picture that. You know, in the movies and TV shows, when the directors of a company take people out for drinks, that setting, I imagine it smells exactly like Barra. So if you had your eye on this fragrance, you like the notes, but you stayed away because of the horror stories of Nasamato, I definitely recommend that you grab a sample of this one. I do have to note that the price is a bit pricey. I do have to mention that the fragrance is kind of pricey. It is 30 ml for $120. This fragrance is long lasting and projects enough that you're not going to blow through 30 ml. Barrel aged whiskey and rose. Barra, you've got to try Barra. And finally, Raven Rose by Dries Van Noten. Everybody talks about Soy Maliki when it comes to a rose offering from Dries Van Noten, but Raven Rose is for the girls that love a slutty rose fragrance. You want a naughty rose fragrance, you've got to get your nose on Raven Rose by Dries Van Noten. It is such a stunner. It opens with black pepper and pink pepper, which automatically gives the fragrance this sexy vibe. If you like the way Baby Cat is peppery, right, without like the incense or like the burnt rubber vibe, that is the same way the pepperiness is done in the opening of Raven Rose. And my favorite thing about it is that pepperiness is not only in the opening of the fragrance, it stays for the entire wear of the perfume. This is a fragrance that commands attention and lets people know that you are a no-nonsense kind of girl. I wore this fragrance to date night at the Met, and as I approached the counter to pick up my ticket, the first thing that the guy working at the booth said to me is, "I know you are here for the Superfine exhibition because the fragrance you're wearing commands attention. Like, it's so striking, it's impossible to miss." That is exactly the vibe. When I think about Raven Rose, I think about a black cat or femme fatale woman that is getting ready in a black dress and a red lip for a very formal or like gala style event. So this has notes of pink pepper, black pepper, rose water, rose, cashmere, and musk. So even though this fragrance smells very peppery and commanding, in the base there's that muskiness that really draws you in. As it dries down, it goes from being a very powerful peppery fragrance and you start to get more of the rose petals and like the rose water essence. Raven Rose is a rose fragrance that is able to be interesting without being bombarded by a bunch of dark and woody notes. You're able to maintain the integrity of the rose essence while still having that allure and that sexiness from the pepperiness. If you haven't tried Raven Rose and you're a lover of a rose fragrance, I definitely recommend that you get your nose on it. Out of all the fragrances that I've discussed today, that is the one that I am most likely to upgrade to a full-size bottle. Let me know in the comments, what are your plans for Valentine's Day? What fragrances do you think you'll be wearing? I don't know exactly what I'm going to wear on Valentine's Day, but I know I want to smell like chocolate. So best believe I'm going to be playing around with some layering combinations. That's a wrap, y'all. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss my next video. See you next time.